How long is it going to take for your team to take it all home? 1 year? 5 years? 10 years? 100? Today, we're taking a look at that, and we tell you our predictions.
Now the question is, at least here in Houston, how far away are the Texans from getting to that game? I feel like the earliest it could be would be 3 years.
The Kansas City Chiefs ended a 50-year Super Bowl drought in the 2019 season. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers broke an 18-year championship drought the following year. And the Los Angeles Rams just netted the franchise its first Lombardi Trophy in 22 years. So, when is your favorite team up next for a Super Bowl parade? Here's our educated guess on when all 32 NFL teams will get their hands on their next Lombardi Trophy. Arizona Cardinals, 2026. Not sure if the short-term future bodes well for the Cardinals, who aren't exactly on the same level as top NFC heavyweights. But Kyler Murray has established himself as a franchise QB, and we trust Arizona's front office to build a true contender around him. We don't think Cliff Kingsbury will be the coach here. His eventual replacement will steer Arizona to the promised land and bring this franchise its first ever Super Bowl at some point in the 2020s. So we'll say 2026. Atlanta Falcons, 2040 or later. Well, the 2021 World Series champion Atlanta Braves proved that this city can have some nice things. But we really don't see an immediate path for the Falcons to becoming championship contenders here. Atlanta has held on to Matt Ryan way too long. Owner Arthur Blank is overly patient with his GMs and coaches. Only one team can win it all every year. But we're gonna have to go out on a limb and say Atlanta fans will have to wait until 2040 or later for their first title. Baltimore Ravens, 2025. It's tempting to project a Ravens Super Bowl coming earlier, but there are just too many quality teams residing in the AFC. However, the John Harbaugh-led coaching staff and GM Eric DeCosta simply won't waste Lamar Jackson's prime years. Nobody drafts better than the Ravens. As long as they keep building around the 2019 MVP, the Ravens will claim their third Super Bowl within this decade. Buffalo Bills, 2022. Okay, so here is our way too early pick to win Super Bowl 57 in Glendale, Arizona. The Bills have dropped 2 playoff heartbreakers to Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, but their time is coming. Josh Allen is basically at Mahomes' level now, and the Bills just fielded the NFL's #1 defense. We'll have some fun and say 2022. If not, it'll happen at some point this decade. Carolina Panthers, in the 2030s or later. Hard to predict the long-term future, but we're pretty confident that Carolina won't be a title contender within the next 5 years. David Tepper's big investment in Matt Rule just hasn't paid off. Chicago Bears, 2065. Okay, your guess is as good as ours here. The Bears have been mediocre for 30 years and counting. It has been over 70 years since they had a true superstar quarterback. But hey, the Blackhawks went 49 years between Stanley Cups. The Cubs went 109 years between World Series titles, while the White Sox went 88 years between theirs. History tells us that Chicago's Bears will follow suit and experience a very lengthy championship drought. So we say it'll end in the year 2065, 80 years after their first Super Bowl win. The Cincinnati Bengals, 2023. The Bengals fell just short of winning their first Super Bowl at SoFi Stadium. That's okay. This young core led by Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins will be back. It's hard to make the Super Bowl in consecutive years. History just isn't on the side of the Bengals, but this Burrow-Chase connection is just too good. We're feeling good about Cincy's chances of claiming their first Super Bowl within the next 5 or so years. Cleveland Browns, 2035. Maybe the 2020 Browns were just a mirage and not the starting point of a return to relevance. But just be patient, Browns fans, because our calculations have a 40-year-old Myles Garrett bringing the Lombardi Trophy to Cleveland once and for all in 2035. Dallas Cowboys, 2095. Honestly, we give up. The 2021 Cowboys looked every bit like a championship contender, and then they went one and done? This team will forever be all hype, no action for as long as most of us live. Denver Broncos, 2055. The Broncos aren't going to contend much with Justin Herbert and Patrick Mahomes headlining the AFC West. Not to mention all the other great QBs that reside in the conference. So let's go bold. again, and project the Broncos to win their next Super Bowl in 2055, exactly 40 seasons after their Super Bowl 50 championship. Detroit Lions, 2057. The Lions have never been a bona fide Super Bowl contender, as evidenced by their one playoff win in the Super Bowl era. 1957 marks the Lions' last NFL championship winning season. Because we believe in fate, we'll call for Detroit to end its Super Bowl drought in 2057, 100 years exactly after Motown last celebrated a championship banner. Green Bay Packers, 2032. It feels like their window is closed. This group just doesn't have what it takes to win the big one. We're not sure how Jordan Love will pan out, but the Green Bay front office has always been smart with its coaching hires, scouting, and drafting. We don't see them competing in the immediate future, but history tells us that they'll contend with a new group eventually. Houston Texans. Within 5 years of the McNair selling, the McNair family has proven to be absolutely unqualified as an ownership group. We can't even put a timeline on when Houston will win a Super Bowl, so we'll say this: it'll come within 5 years of the McNairs selling the team. Indianapolis Colts, 2034 or later. If the Colts had their QB situation figured out, we'd happily project them for a Super Bowl title in the next 10 years. That said, GM Chris Ballard has a good program going, and we like the long-term makeup of this front office. Jacksonville Jaguars, 2028. This may seem like a joke to some of you, but we assure you, it's not. Trevor Lawrence is going to be well established and in his prime by then. Franchise building blocks like Josh Allen and whomever Jacksonville takes with the top selection in 2022 will be in place. Doug Peterson is a Super Bowl winning coach and a giant upgrade over Urban Meyer. With plenty of cap space and draft capital to use, the Jaguars will eventually build a contender and win it all with T-Law in 2028. Kansas City Chiefs, 2024. 4 years of Mahomes, 4 AFC title game appearances. Predicting the future is a dangerous game. But I think we can all agree that Patrick Mahomes' Chiefs are just too good to win just one Super Bowl. The Chiefs probably won't win it next season or the season after that. But that long overdue second championship will finally come to KC in the 2024 season. Las Vegas Raiders, 2036 or later. The Raiders have a pretty solid foundation in place, but Derek Carr is 7 years older than Justin Herbert and simply not on the same level as Patrick Mahomes. Not really seeing how the Raiders can bust through for a championship anytime soon, so they'll likely need to wait until the mid-2030s, when all the AFC's top quarterbacks are in the latter stages of their careers. Los Angeles Chargers, 2027. The Chargers are the masters of underachieving and blowing big opportunities, but Justin Herbert is the real deal. The Chargers are heading in the right direction. This decade, it pays off with a title. Los Angeles Rams, 2033. The Rams have a short-term window to win more rings following their 2021 championship season. But Matthew Stafford, Aaron Donald, and Cooper Kupp aren't exactly young, and the Rams are devoid of key draft capital. So we're a bit hesitant to grant this team a second Super Bowl in the 2020s. But Les Snead and Sean McVay are two of the best in the business, and we expect them to keep the Rams competitive for years to come. Miami Dolphins, 2031 or later. Hard to trust the direction of Miami after they fired a coach who led this team to consecutive winning seasons. We do want to have some faith in Mike McDaniel and Tua Tagovailoa though. But again, the AFC ain't gonna be easy when several other clubs have superstar QBs and top-level management. We really like Tua's skill set, enough to believe he can lead them to a championship, but it's gonna be a wait of almost a decade before that happens. Minnesota Vikings, 2042 or later. Not seeing it with this core. Kirk Cousins isn't a championship quarterback. The defense is a mess, and ownership has always been content with merely being mediocre rather than a true title contender. Plus, Vikings fans can't have nice things. So why shouldn't their Super Bowl drought last another 2 decades or longer? New England Patriots, 2029. Bill Belichick could totally make us look foolish and win 3 Super Bowls in the next 5 years. But even in the Tom Brady years, the Pats never had this many top-flight QBs in the AFC to compete with. So we will boldly predict that Patriots fans wait a little more than half a decade for that 7th championship. Mac Jones will be a well-established superstar by then, and he'll come out of Brady's shadow and lead New England to the promised land by the end of the decade. New Orleans Saints, 2040s or later. The retirement of Sean Payton and Drew Brees have closed the Saints title window for now, so it's awfully hard to project when they'll win another championship without a long-term answer at QB. More than a dozen teams have far better long-term outlooks than the Saints. We see them going at least another 2 decades without a title, and honestly, it'll likely be longer than that. New York Giants, 2043. Truth be told, this is just a really random guess for us. The Giants are in complete disarray and have been that way since their Super Bowl 46 championship season. Unless Brian Dabble works his magic with Daniel Jones, there is no clear path to a title. 2043 feels like a nice guess, because maybe the Giants will have a legit QB by then. New York Jets, 2060 or later. Yeah, this feels about right. The Jets have been a hapless franchise since their Super Bowl III title. So how about waiting roughly a century between Lombardi trophies? Otherwise, honestly, your guess is as good as ours. This franchise has never had a clear direction under Woody Johnson's ownership. Philadelphia Eagles, 2040s or later. In regards to the projected Super Bowl winners of the 2020s and 2030s, there aren't any spots for the Eagles. They will need to properly build around Jalen Hurts if they're to compete for another championship within this decade. And honestly, we just can't say that we're seeing it. Pittsburgh Steelers, 2039 or later. Another model organization that always finds ways to remain competitive. But the Steelers aren't exactly with young, in their prime superstars like the other NFL heavyweights. Unless they hit a home run on their next franchise QB, the next decade and a half could be pretty painful. I mean, facing Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow 4 times a year will not be easy. The San Francisco 49ers, 2030. By this point, the 49ers will be led by Trey Lance and hopefully still Nick Bosa, Deebo Samuel, and George Kittle. Anyway, this is a great foundation being built by John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan. So it's not at all hard to envision these two orchestrating a championship-winning team. But it won't happen overnight, though. Seattle Seahawks, 2037 or later. It feels like the window has closed for the Pete Carroll-led Seahawks to win another championship. We don't see him coaching much longer, and the Seahawks will have a very difficult time finding a suitable replacement for him. Unless John Schneider turns back the clock to 2011 and 2012 by hitting on all these mid to late round draft choices, we see Seattle waiting at least another decade and a half for a second Super Bowl. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 2038. 2002, Super Bowl champions. 2020, Super Bowl champions. 2038, Super Bowl champions? Notice the trend? Tampa won their 2 Super Bowl titles 18 years apart. So, who's to say that 3 times won't be a charm? Let's keep the pattern going. Tennessee Titans, 2045 or later. We don't trust Ryan Tannehill to outlast the other AFC quarterbacks. And it's not like Julio Jones, Derrick Henry, and Kevin Byard are getting any younger. The Titans have a very short Super Bowl window. If they don't win it all within the next 3 years, a lengthy and painful rebuild process will likely follow. Washington Commanders. After Dan Snyder sells, Washington was a proud team before Dan Snyder became the owner, winning 3 Super Bowls under Joe Gibbs. Now, they're an absolute laughingstock full of controversy, disturbing off-the-field scandals, and mediocre play on it. Sorry, but this team isn't winning a Super Bowl until after Dan Snyder sells. But when do you think your team will win its next Super Bowl? Join us in the comment section below. If you liked this video and learned a thing or two, clicking the like button helps out a ton. And hey, we appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, subscribing is a great idea because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching and we'll see you guys next time.